Value is the importance of science, and our monthly value is innovation. Good morning, my dear students in grade 4. Our lesson today is Our World Part 2. Open your student's book page 70 and your workbook page 72. What day is it today? Today is Tuesday. What is the date today? It's the 12th of January 2021.
Mountain, river, wall, bridge, famous,
Now let's read and match. Bridge, famous, river, wall, mountain. Please stop the video, read and match, then come back to check your answers. Bridge, river, famous, wall, mountain.
Module 6, Our World. 2. Listen and answer. Which cities are the texts about? Then read and match the pictures to the texts. Discuss your answers with a partner.
Timeless cities. Xi'an is a city near the Wei River and the Qin Mountains in China. Xi'an was also one of the 4 great cities of ancient China. It had many houses, markets, and beautiful gardens. There were big walls around the city too. Today, many tourists visit China to see Xi'an and the famous terracotta army of Qin Shi Huang. In old times, London wasn't the big city it is today. The Romans built it in 43 CE, and its name back then was Londinium. The city was near the River Thames, and it had walls around it. In those days, there weren't many bridges over the river. Today, there are many bridges, and you can see famous ones like Tower Bridge and Waterloo Bridge.
Look, Majed wasn't at the sports centre yesterday. He was at home. They weren't at the park last Saturday. They were at the shopping centre.
Let's learn was and where. I was. He, she, it was. He was, she was, it was. You were, we were, they were. The past simple tense of verb to be. We use the past simple to talk about things that happened in the past. In the affirmative, I was, you were, he was, she was, it was, we were, you were, they were. In the negative, I was not, you were not, he was not, she was not, it was not, we were not, you were not, they were not. The short forms, I wasn't, you weren't, he wasn't, she wasn't, it wasn't, we weren't, you weren't, and they weren't. And in the question, was I, were you, was he, was she, was it, were you, were we, were they? Was I? Yes, you were, or no, you weren't. Were you? Yes, I was, or no, I wasn't. Was he? Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. Was she? Yes, she was. No, she wasn't. Was it? Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Were you? Were we? Yes, you were. No, you weren't. Let's read the questions. Where were you yesterday? Or where were you on Friday morning? I was at the amusement park. Was the Ferris wheel scary? Yes, it was. Or no, it wasn't. It was great. We use wasn't for negative past singular. I wasn't with my friend at the park last week. Can you give me more examples? Into negative. He was at school last Friday. He wasn't at school last Friday. Rana was at the supermarket last week. Rana wasn't at the supermarket last week. We use weren't for plural negative past simple. We weren't with our friends last week. Change into negative. They were at home yesterday. They weren't at home yesterday. Ali and Muhammad were at the park an hour ago. Ali and Muhammad weren't at the park an hour ago. My lovely students, can you underline the past verbs in the text? Please stop the video, open your student's book, and underline the past verbs in the text, and then come back to check your answers. Xian was. It had. Had is the past form of the verb have or has. Here it, so it will be has. The past form of has is had. There were. Were is the past form of are. There were big walls. Wasn't is the past form of isn't. Built is the past form of the verb build. And was is the past form of the verb is. Weren't is the past form of the verb aren't. In your workbook, look and answer. Were there any bridges? Was there a shopping center? Were there any cars? Was there a river? Was there a wall around the city? Now you can look at the picture and answer the questions. Then come back to check your answers. Were there any bridges? Perfect. Yes, there were. Number 2. Was there a shopping center? No, there wasn't. Were there any cars? No, there weren't. Number 4. Was there a river? Yes, there was. Was there a wall around the city? No, there wasn't. Page 72, Activity 3. Look and write sentences. Children, school, yesterday, playground. The children weren't at school yesterday, they were at the playground. Now look at the picture of 2 and 3. Write the same. Bill and Fred, the sports center yesterday, amusement park. Jill, the airport yesterday, the park. Now stop the video, write the answers in your notebooks, in your workbooks, and then come back to check your answer. Number 2, Bill and Fred weren't at the sports center yesterday. They were at the amusement park. Bill and Fred weren't at the sports center yesterday. They were at the amusement park. Jill wasn't at the airport yesterday. She was at the park. Jill wasn't at the airport yesterday. She was at the park.
4. Look at the pictures. Listen and draw lines. What was there in each city?
Look at these pictures. They show Salt Lake City in Utah, USA, in 1910. It was a small town, and around 500 people lived there. There weren't any buses then. People used carriages. There was a big library in the city because people loved to read back then too.
This is my project about Los Angeles, USA. In the old times, Los Angeles wasn't a big city. Look at these pictures here. A girl is feeding the birds in the park in this one, and some men are riding their bikes in the other one. There weren't many cars on the streets, but many people had bikes.
Here, spot the difference. Activity 5 in your student's book. Spot the differences, then look and say. There weren't any buses. There were carriages. There are many buses now. I want you now to talk about the town, these two pictures, now and then, using these words in the blue box. Bank, bus, restaurant, post office, carriage, shopping center, river, and bridge. Please bring your notebooks. Write sentences using weren't and are, and use verb to be in the past and verb to be in the present. So you will use was or were, wasn't or weren't in the past, and you will use is and are for the present. There weren't any shopping centers. There are shopping centers now. As you see here, we use weren't for the past, and we use are for the word for the present. There weren't any bridges. There is a bridge now. Into negative. There were many buses. There was a bridge. There were 2 supermarkets. There was a bank. Do this as homework in your notebooks. Thank you and goodbye, my lovely students.